This is the third video that I've done on the coronavirus issue, and this one is going to focus on panic and catastrophizing. I'll explain what they are biochemically and show how they can just make any situation worse, but in this context, of course, the coronavirus. And so if you think about whatever news channel you might go to, you pretty much get a fairly bleak outlook with the coronavirus situation. And this has led even television personalities, medical doctors, to rip the media. And TMZ caught both Dr. Drew and Dr. Oz in New York. You can see both of them ripped the media for coronavirus panic, urge common sense. So, what common sense stuff do they recommend? Well, they recommend, of course, the standard stuff that the CDC talks about, and being much more careful for people who are at risk, the elderly, so the inflammaging population, and then people with current illnesses. Ones I've discussed in my two previous videos have been obesity and diabetes and heart disease, so it's worthwhile checking out those videos to see how it works out. So the other issue for whenever you're exposed to individuals, groups of people, or the news, and they create panic issues in one's mind, certain people are more disposed because certain people are just genetically disposed to being more panicky. So for those who are disposed to panic, you want to do everything you can to fortify your body and mind and make yourself more resilient. So when we think about the nature of the coronavirus or flu virus or any other pathogenic bacteria or virus, the symptoms, we can focus on understanding the basics of why they're problematic if we understand what it is about our body that leads to poor outcomes. And so this is from Business Times. I've shown my other two videos. So if it's in Business Times, this is not a science magazine. This is a business either magazine or news piece or website. I thought there might be a magazine too. Perhaps not. But the point was a business website, and they are urging us to understand what a cytokine storm is. I've talked about it previously. Here is the picture that scientists have given us. So all of this reflects a storm of these pro-inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. And I'll talk about them more a little bit further in this video, and I've discussed it in many other videos. So when you start thinking about panic, so what is panic? Well, you can see we're talking about cytokines as a problem, right? Cytokine storms. Look what we're told here, broad spectrum of cytokine abnormalities in panic disorders and PTSD. So what is the conclusion of this article? You can see the findings suggest that a generalized inflammatory state may be present in individuals with panic disorder or PTSD. So cytokines. We'll do a little brief intro here about what they are. It's really kind of all you need, basically. They're proteins. So cytokines are proteins that are involved in an immune response. So when you have an immune response, you pump out extra cytokines. And this is in response to injury, infection, and other stressors. So here we're talking about psychological stressors. So a growing body of science now supports numerous pathways linking psychological stress and affective, emotional, mental disorders to the activation. So really this is the overactivation of the immune system and the overproduction of cytokines in particular. And you can see this goes back to 2009. This information about cytokine surging has been developing for the last 25 years. That's easy findable in information about this. So clearly, panic is not something that we need, particularly if you're already panic prone, because the panic state. So in other words, the news media with their panicky stuff is actually making it worse, because if you panic people, you flame them up, and a flamed up person is more likely to have a worse outcome if infected by the coronavirus. So the other word in the title of this video was catastrophizing. So you just Google catastrophizing. What is it? It is an irrational thought a lot of us have in believing something is far worse than it actually is. Catastrophizing can generally take on two forms: making a catastrophe out of a current situation that really shouldn't be a catastrophe, and imagining making a catastrophe out of a future situation. And so when you get all this sort of unclear information from the media, which is what Oz and Drew were ripping, well, it's because they are creating a pro-inflammatory state that is going to make people worse if they get infected. So we know that catastrophizing, you can see pro-inflammatory cytokines, in this case women with fibromyalgia, you can see here, significant relationships exist between interleukin-8, a cytokine, and pain catastrophizing. Now, typically when you think about catastrophizing, it's a big thing in pain care these days. They call it pain catastrophizing, as you can see there. But it applies across the board. So we do not want to catastrophize. Catastrophizing, it adds to the cytokine uptick. Panicking adds to the cytokine uptick. Bad relationships add to the uptick. This is just not about catastrophizing. This just shows us, you can see the title, close relationships, inflammation, and health. Take a closer look here. Social conflict, interpersonal stress associated with inflammation. So this is an uptick of cytokine production. And you can see increased CRP levels as well. So we do not want to engage in unhealthy relationships, obviously, for obvious reasons, and we want to avoid panicky and catastrophizing states, so we want to have good information in our brain when it comes to all this. So what's the best way to look at it? At least from what I can tell. So this is that picture from the cytokine storm that I've used in the last two videos, as well as the third one. And so you can see here are your pro-inflammatory cytokines. If these guys turn into a tornado, the chance increases for someone to have a negative consequence to coronavirus infection, severe complications, at worst, death. So how should we look at this? Well, panic, catastrophizing, and various psychosocial stressors, mental emotional stressors, all increase cytokine levels and can add to the storm that increases viral infection severity. So my suggestion would be to check out this video, and I go over multiple factors that lead to the increasing flame that occurs. So our goal should be to not let our flame rise above this level. So how would you know if you have this? Well, if your C-reactive protein, for example, is above 1, you have entered the flame. And so that is the best way to tell how flamed up we are. If we are hyperglycemic, hyperlipidemic, the flame is on. If we're low in vitamin D, flame is on. So all these different factors participate in promoting the flame. Now my focus in the deflame nutrition world obviously is nutritional stuff. I don't discount any of these, and in many cases, for many people, mental emotional stressors are far more of an issue than their dietary issue in that moment. So it really boils down to which flame stressor is your biggest issue and address it so you can down-tick the flame, get the flame down so you're no longer clinically flamed up. That will make you more resilient to viral infection, bacterial infection, and any other compromising stressor that could impact your body. So when you're looking at the nutritional approach, this is where I've spent most of my time. You can see the options. This is my newest book. Most recent after that would have been the breast cancer book and then weight loss secrets, as well as the original Deflame diet. They're reasonably priced and volume discounts are available. Just go to deflame.com, and from there you can click through if you wish and get to my YouTube channel, subscribe to there, and then follow me on Facebook as well at Deflame Nutrition.